Hi, this is Michelle Sam from Sammy Wong's Kitchen. Today is actually Chinese New Year. I am going to be showing you how to make something that my family enjoys making together as a family, and it's very symbolic. This is usually done as a dessert, although you can have it savory. This is called Tang Yuan, which are these glutinous rice balls. And if you don't want to go and make your own, then you can always buy it in the freezer section at the Chinese grocery store. So what is Tang Yuan? Tang Yuan can either be solid glutinous rice balls, and that has no filling, or for the desserts, you can have a filling. What are the traditional fillings? If you go to a Chinese restaurant or go to the grocery store, what you will see is either a black sesame seed paste or a red bean filling, and you also get a peanut filling, and you might get I think it's like a mung bean. If you want to be very traditional, you can stick to the black sesame and the red bean and the peanut, or you can be as creative as you want. So because almonds are healthier than peanut, you could do a almond filling. Even within the fillings, there are different kinds of textures. The nice thing about making your own is that you can change it to whatever you like. For example, if you are wanting to get a really fine pasty sesame seed filling, you can do that. Or if you wanted something more crumbly and has more mouthfeel, then you can grind up your own black sesames and make it more textured. The same with the red bean. You can make your own red bean paste, or you can buy the red bean paste that's already ready to serve. And for an almond, you can mix almond butter with chopped almonds to get an almond filling. And within the prepared fillings, there is quite a variation of sweetness. So if you don't want your filling too sweet, it's best to add your own sugar. So for this particular video, I have bought a sweetened red bean paste, and I cannot stress enough to really read your ingredient list. A really good friend of mine had suggested a particular brand of red bean paste. I was going to go there and just buy that. It cost twice as much. And then I looked at the ingredient list and I was appalled because it had all these other added oils in, and I just didn't want those oils. And I got this one, which was half the price, and the only ingredients they have is sugar, water, and red bean. So look at your ingredient list and make sure it's really clean, because we don't need any other filler. For the black sesame, what I'm going to do is add sugar. So if you want it really fine and smooth, you want to have this sugar be finely ground. So my normal ratio of product to sugar ranges from 1/4 to 1/2. A lot of recipes put in equal portions of filling with sugar, and you know, it depends on you. If you really like it sweet, go for it. But if you counting your carbs and you want a lower GI, which is the glycemic index, then you have the ability and flexibility and freedom to reduce your sugar. For this recipe, I am going to show you how to deal with a fresh paste rather than getting a store-bought paste, although you will have to process it in about the same way because it's very difficult to handle paste, but it's much easier if it is in a solid, hard form. And the other thing that I wanted to mention about the Tang Yuan is the type of flour that we're going to be using. So in most Chinese or ethnic supermarkets, you have rice flour and you have glutinous rice flour. And most rice flours, even though the brand is different, the rice flour will be red and the glutinous rice flour will be green. For this recipe, we need glutinous rice flour. We definitely do not want to use the rice flour, okay? So all we'll need for this, it's really simple. We'll need glutinous rice flour and some boiling water, and then our filling. And I will show you the technique because it makes it really easy. And the nice thing about Tang Yuan is that it's symbolic. It's the roundness, which is symbolic of family. And when my family gets together for Chinese New Year, we'll sit around the table and make this Tang Yuan together for dessert. And it's one of the most memorable things for Chinese New Year. So hopefully you'll get this under your belt and try it for Chinese New Year. This is usually eaten on the Lantern Festival, and the Lantern Festival is the last day of Chinese New Year. So Chinese New Year runs about 2 weeks. So on the last day, have your family gather, make Tang Yuan. So let's get started. So for my black sesame paste, I have my black sesame paste here in a bowl, and it is unsweetened. So I'm going to sweeten it. I don't like too much sugar, so for me, it's just going to be a quarter of the quantity here. And I'm going to grind this so that it's a fine powder, almost like caster sugar. If you don't have a dedicated coffee grinder to do any kind of grinding other than coffee, it's something that you should invest in. Add that to my mixture and then mix this so we can sweeten it. So here I have my red bean paste that I weighed and put onto a plastic wrap. And I'm going to do the same thing for the sesame paste. If you want to have it more viscous versus a paste in your Tang Yuan, you can add a tablespoon of butter or coconut oil. So I'm going to just get my sesame seed paste onto my plastic wrap. And once it's on the plastic wrap, I'm going to square it off so that after I've frozen it for about an hour so that it hardens, I am then going to cut it into 16 pieces, and each piece will fit into a Tang Yuan. And I want to try to get the height to be about 3/4 of an inch or 2 centimeters. So this would be our one black sesame seed, and we wanted to make it pretty even and square. And then we'll do the same thing with this red bean. And then give it an hour to freeze. And then we're going to be cutting it into 16 cubes each. Now, I would not freeze this till it's completely solid. So definitely try to get it out after about an hour. And then you can always just score it and refreeze it if you're not planning to make it right then and there. But it's solid right now, and I'm using a dough cutter. You can use a knife, and all I'm doing is cutting this into 16 pieces. So 4 on this side, and then there we go. And those will be somewhat uniform pieces for our filling. So for the dough, you will need 132 grams of glutinous rice flour, and that's about a cup. And I would highly encourage you to use a scale and weigh it, because you could get 30 grams variation from a cup depending on how you fill the cup. And this really matters in terms of how the dough is going to form. So you'll need 132 grams. And to that, we're going to be adding about 120 mils or grams of boiling water. And what I'm going to do is add it right into the center. And of course, this is a little more than 120 grams of water. This is about a cup of boiling water, but I'm just going to use my scale and measure it out. And the reason why we use boiling water is that it gelatinizes the gluten here in the flour, and that will help make the dough tender. And in addition to the boiling water and the rice flour, we also need some food coloring if you want to have the dough have some kind of differentiation between the different fillings. So using some chopsticks, because of course you've used boiling water and you don't want to burn your hands. Just get the glutinous rice flour all incorporated into the liquid. Now allow the dough to rest for 15 minutes so that it can cool down and be fully hydrated. And so now you can see after it's hydrated and it's cooled down, it's not as sticky as before. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this into 3 balls, and I'm going to use some food coloring. And if you don't want to use some food coloring, you can always use some natural vegetable juice, red beet juice or carrot juice for orange, or some spinach juice. And so you have your 3 doughs here. So cut your dough into 6 pieces, and each piece, if you want to be precise, should measure about 13 to 14 grams. All right, so here we have our spreads. They're all cut into the right size, and each filling should weigh about 4 to 5 grams. And then here are our balls, and they should weigh between 13 to 14 grams. And so now I just need to fill them. I'm going to do a black sesame, making it into like a scallop shape, and then pressing it down, flattening it. You can use your hands like this, just so that it's big enough to hold your filling. Take a piece of your filling, add that into the center. Use the area between the thumb and the finger to enclose it. Get it to the top like this. And once it's enclosed, go ahead and make your little ball. And this is just such a wonderful activity for the entire family. So Tang Yuan, which means reunion, and it symbolizes family. This is the perfect family activity, and the kids can also get involved. Here you have your 3 different kinds of balls with your 3 different fillings. For the dessert soup, I'm going to add about a cup of milk, and to this milk you can add some coconut milk to it if you like the coconut flavor. But for the sweetness, I like adding some condensed milk, and I'm going to put in a tablespoon of condensed milk. Stir this in, and then I am going to heat this, and this is going to be the soup in which my balls are going to be placed. And part of the reason why it needs to be in a liquid medium, it prevents the balls from sticking to each other. You can also use more of a water-based soup. You'll boil water together with slices of ginger to get the ginger flavor, and then add your sugar to taste. And usually you can use rock sugar or brown sugar, and start off with a tablespoon and see how that tastes. And if you needed to add more sweetener, you can do that. The trick to boiling our Tang Yuan, what you need to make sure is that your balls are not going to stick to the bottom of the pot, because once it sticks to the bottom, when you stir it, it's going to rip out part of the ball, and then all the filling is going to be lost. So the way we do that is, once it comes to a rolling boil, stir the water so nothing is going to actually stay at the bottom, and then slowly add our balls. It takes about 4 minutes to cook on the bottom, and then it'll be floating to the top. And of course, if you use frozen balls, it's going to take a little longer. And the key to having nice fluffy balls is don't overstuff your sauce pot. Allow enough room for them to actually float. So it's been about 4 minutes, and you can see that our balls are now floating on the top. And we're just going to give it another minute, then we're going to place it into our sweet soup. Right. Now for serving. The trick here is not to put the tong first, but to put the balls first. Otherwise, the balls are going to just splash into the liquid, and it's really messy. Believe me, I've done that. So first put in your balls, and because we've color-coded them, we want to make sure each one gets a little of everything. And 3 balls per person is really quite sufficient. And then add our tong, and there we have it. So I hope this is going to be a lovely tradition that you can start for Chinese New Year, Lantern Festival. I am sure everybody's going to enjoy these chewy Tang Yuan. More recipes can be found on sammywongskitchen.com or social media. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks!